Alright, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Crypto Coffee Lo-Fi. Been another couple of weeks since I uploaded a video. If you go back and watch the last episode, pretty much all of our predictions worked out. We made a bunch of money over the last couple of weeks, but we're coming to quite an important point in the market, particularly in the majors, so I thought it's a good idea to push another video. But before we get started, a special thanks to BERT for sponsoring all of this content. You know, I've been doing this for years, sharing a bunch of free content, a bunch of free indicators, all of my trades and everything, and it's thanks to them. They pay me, and in turn I'm able to provide a bunch of free content to you all without ever asking for a cent. So I think that's great. So a big thank you to them. The referral link is in the description below if you're looking for an exchange to sign up through them. Help us out, help them out. I'll keep uploading these videos. Alright, so we're going to start off with Bitcoin. Just turn that all the way down. Okay. Bitcoin obviously sitting at quite an important level here. You know, we were range bound within these two levels, so between 90 and 100-ish thousand for a couple of months there. We dipped below and we started accumulating. So for those that haven't watched any of the content before, essentially my strategy, all I'm looking to do is find a market environment. So if I think crypto is bullish, then that's a market environment. If I think crypto is range bounded, I can trade within that range, then that's also a market environment. But once I identify that market environment, the next thing I'm looking to do is find accumulation or distribution. So in this case, we found accumulation. So we had a bunch of these equal lows. Below those lows, I was waiting to see if price started accumulating. And what that looks like is we have a key low that forms, price breaks below the low, and then buyers start to use that liquidity or start to buy up below that key low. Once we get that, we look for a break in structure and then the same pattern to kind of form again. And essentially, I'm not telling you that this is market manipulation. What I'm saying is that this is just a way to identify strength in the market. And you can see that's what we've gotten here. So we fell below this multi-month range and then we got some accumulation. So breaking below the low, then breaking up above the highs that took that low. So we have the accumulation right here, and now we're reaching up into resistance. It's not ever really a good idea to long into resistance unless you plan on having your invalidation all the way back below the accumulation, which is around 70K. So there's two scenarios here that I think could play out. The first scenario, price maintains its lower time frame levels and we continue to break out. And if this happens, then obviously the breakout is going to be quite like exponential, right? It's going to be massive. If we hold the lower time frame levels, which I'll point out here in a sec, and we do continue to see daily strength, then I assume we head up to 120s, 130s at least over the next couple of weeks. So there's that. Continue to break out towards 120-ish. Okay. The second scenario, price stalls here and falls back within the multi-month range that occurred at the start of the year. So those are the two scenarios. I think people, you know, mainly new traders, when they get started with trading, they get too caught up with one particular bias. And it's really, although the most important thing is to have conviction with your idea, it's also important to stay fluid and to come up with a plan. Okay, and that's why I like my strategy so much, is it allows me to stay fluid and trade level to level as the new levels form. Okay, so the first scenario, let's cover that because I guess that's the most interesting. So let's break this down a little bit. we have a sweep of all these lows here, and then breaking up above the high. Let's sweep those lows right there. Gonna work. Breaking structure right here. And getting the same thing again. We retest the accumulation, and then we get another break right here. And then we take out all of these equal lows as well, and then we get another break. Okay, and you can see we're still accumulating at price is still accumulating at resistance. So buyers are still showing strength here. It's only once that accumulation starts to fail. So we have another breaking structure here. So we have accumulation right here, a sweep and then a break, a sweep and then a break, a sweep, then a break, a sweep, and then a break. It's only once you start to see that accumulation fail. So let's say we drop below and we start getting daily closes below that level and more distribution. Can we assume that, okay, buyers are losing strength and sellers are stepping into the market? But for now, because we're looking at the first scenario, we should just assume that all accumulation is going to hold, right? So if you are on the fence on the side of the fence that is assuming that price is going to continue to break out here, then what you want to see is the accumulation hold. So the most recent accumulation is this level here. So even if we drop down, if we fall back into it and see buyers step back in and we maintain like solid daily candles, then the road to like 115, 120, 130 is definitely on the cards. So that's the first scenario. That's what it will look like over the next couple of days. However, if we start to get daily closes below here, and then on top of that, more distribution, then we should assume, okay, the second scenario is most likely going to play out. And what does that look like? So we're in an uptrend, definitely. From the monthly, weekly, all the way to the daily. We're definitely in an uptrend. However, an uptrend doesn't mean that we move in a straight fucking vertical line, bro. An uptrend could mean we pause here for a second and start to revisit previous areas of accumulation. Now, in an uptrend, we tend to visit two areas. In these two areas, you look for a certain reaction to be able to determine if price is going to continue up or not. First area, below equal lows, area of liquidity. Second area, fucking just punched a 20 mgs in all over the place. The second area is at a previous area of accumulation. Okay. Now, so we have the first area is below equal lows. So let's say we drop down below here. We have a bunch of equal lows resting there, right here. And then we have a bunch of equal lows resting here. So what you can do, if you think we're in an uptrend, so let's say these lower time frame levels start to break, what we then do is wait for price to fall below the equal lows, where we then look for lower time frame accumulation. Now, what accumulation is literally just the same pattern. So we have, let's say we drop below the lows, you get some lower time frame lows form, and then a breaking structure, a retest, more accumulation. So we could drop below here and get that pattern, or we could drop below here and get that pattern. Okay. So first scenario is that these lower time frame levels hold, okay, and then we continue up and we really start to go parabolic over the next couple of days. The second scenario is that we reach below these equal lows and get more accumulation, or reach below these lows, which would not look very good for alts, and get some more accumulation there, right? So those are the two scenarios. I'm positioned accordingly. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but hopefully that breakdown and analysis gives you a bit more of an idea of where to place trades, where to place your invalidations, when to get spooked and when not to get spooked. A move below these lows isn't bearish. A move below these lows isn't bearish at all. If anything, depending on how you're positioned, obviously, a move below here and a move below here should excite you. okay? As long as we get the accumulation, obviously. It should excite you because it will provide more buying opportunities. And in this kind of market, especially for the majors, all you really fucking need to do is just buy. Just buy every time, okay? So waiting on these to play out, that's Bitcoin. The two scenarios easily laid out. Right, let's move on to Ethereum. So Ethereum, when we last covered this, we were down at around 1600 and it wasn't looking too good. But I gave you a clear game plan of what it will look like if we're going to continue up. And it honestly looks like Ethereum's going to catch up to Bitcoin. If you had have asked me a couple of weeks ago, would I have said that Ethereum is the better opportunity play? I would have said no. But that's my job. It's my job to stick to a bias based on the information that I have. And then once the information starts to change my bias and move along with it, right? So I have missed this whole move. And I'm not saying I'm just going to go start blindly longing now that we've fucking rallied 80% from the lows. But I'm just saying now that this low is formed and now that we do have some accumulation and the entire market is picking up, maybe Ethereum is the better play over Bitcoin into these highs. So let me turn that down. So the exact same thing that I just showed you with Bitcoin, I'm going to show you with Ethereum. So we have a sweep of that low and then a break in structure, okay? So we have started to reach up into resistance here. We're reaching up into this consolidation. I do think the more obvious objective for price to reach towards before any kind of deeper retrace is around 3,000. So let's just keep that level marked. Right. So kind of Ethereum is lining up perfectly with our Bitcoin scenario 1, or the first Bitcoin scenario. So we're in an uptrend, obviously. Now we've taken out these lows here and started to break structure. You can see that a little bit clearer on the hourly. Right, we're breaking structure in here. We retest, we get more accumulation. Then another break in structure right here. And then we get more accumulation. And then more breaks in structure here. And then we have this trend line that we're breaking out of as well. So it's honestly, Ethereum's looking pretty strong. So just like Bitcoin, Ethereum has two scenarios. The first scenario is that these lower time frame levels are maintained and we get more accumulation and we can head up towards 3K. I think that's the more likely scenario. Or if these levels start to break and then we get more distribution and Bitcoin follows suit, then expect a move down. Again, that move down is not bearish at all, man, right? As long as, because when you're in an uptrend, you want to see two things to happen. Either a move below equal lows where you see more accumulation, or a retest of previous accumulation where you see more accumulation there. So since this whole break up, we had these 1, 2, 3, 4 massive daily candles that are yet to be filled, that are yet to retest. So let's assume the first scenario is that the lower time frame levels hold and we can shoot up to 3K from here. The second scenario is that we shoot down towards like 2100, 2200, where we can then look for more accumulation and a continuation from there. Okay, so really, really simple stuff for Ethereum. Best bet is to be long from here. If it breaks down, that's all good. It should not change the higher time frame view, where we can look for more longs around 2100. All right, so finding a market environment. And then once we have that market environment, then looking for accumulation or distribution and looking at the levels that need to hold for that trend or environment to be maintained. Easy peasy, that's Ethereum. All right, now moving on to Solana. Again, painting a similar picture. We ran out all of these lows below here, and then we started to break structure. So this is the most obvious high that was responsible for running those lows. Okay, you can see we retested it, and we got some more accumulation. So sweeping out all those lows and then breaking structure again, just here. Okay, so I think if Solana is going to hold, you really don't want to see any daily closes below this level. We might get some deeper pullbacks, something like that, or something like this. But if we might get a sweep, but you really don't want to see any daily weakness below there. Okay, so again, two scenarios. The first scenario being we've wiped out all of these lows here. and then wiped out these lows. The lower time frame levels could hold on Solana here, and we can get some strength, something like that. Or we get these levels start to fade, and then Bitcoin and Ethereum follow suit, and we get retests of lower levels. But either way, I think it's pretty obvious that we're in a bull trend. Any deeper pullbacks should be seen as a blessing to just buy more. However, Bitcoin sitting at where it's at, you know, if these lower time frame levels hold, then expect shit to get really fucking crazy really quick. So that's Solana. Not as clean of a chart as we have on Ethereum. Ethereum's probably the better trade, just in terms of cleaner levels and probably more strength too. So either we hold these levels and continue up, or we get a deeper pullback. It's the same thing across the board. All right, I just want to touch on the dollar really quick. I do think that we're going to continue to see a dollar devaluation. There's absolutely no reason from what I can see to think that the dollar is going to continue up here. We could get, we could get a sweep of this level and then a temporary pullback, something like that. But even if we get it, I think it'll be capped around like 105, right? I think the more likely scenario is a continued breakdown, something like that, into this range down here to like 94, 95 region. But again, watch out for that. If we get the accumulation here below that low and Bitcoin and Ethereum look like they're starting to top out, then we probably get that move into the mid-range, So just looking at dollar here, not as a trade, but as a way to help keep like a clear view on the market environment and where we're headed, right? So accumulation below here and a move up towards 105 will push Bitcoin and Ethereum to retrace a little bit along with the rest of the market. However, if we continue to drop down on the daily and the weekly, then expect this drop off and devaluation of the dollar to just continue into the 95 region. So that's the dollar, my friends. All right, so now there's two meme coins that I want to cover. I want to cover Farcoin and BERT. I think they are, the most attention is going to be on these two, and they have the most potential as well. So we have, and this was covered a couple of weeks ago as well. This thing is just absolutely crazy in terms of strength, right? But we're leading up to resistance, so we have all of this in here. So it doesn't surprise me at all that price is starting to chop about now. Okay, but like I mentioned before, when you're in an uptrend, you want to see price accumulate below equal lows and then continue up or retest previous accumulation. So we have a sweep and a break here. So let's mark out this accumulation that we have and go into the hourly. You can see we've retested it and we accumulate. So retest, take out all those lows, break up above the high. Retest, accumulate, so take out this lower time frame low, break up above the high. So I think we are bullish, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we get something like this and then a continue up. However, if these levels start to break, if we come back below that trend line and then we get more distribution, then expect these lows to get taken out. Now, once we take out those lows, I think it'll be very, very unlikely if we do start to make another lower low and continue lower highs. I think it'll be very unlikely that we accumulate below there, especially because if this starts to fail, then Bitcoin and ETH are probably having a deeper pullback as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this grind up gets wiped out and we revisit the 8, 9 kind of area. Something like that, maybe running out this low, accumulate below it, and then continue up. So those are two scenarios for Farcoin. Either this lower time frame level holds, or we start to break down, get some distribution, and then these levels start to hold or start to fail, and we get a lit grab below there. So that's Farcoin. All right, so now just a quick look at BERT. Really, the chart looks pretty crazy. If we do manage to maintain this uptrend across the board, then I think this coin's going to be one of the highest RR potentials. We could easily see a run up into like 10, 15 cents from where we are. Okay, so running out all of those lows, right here, and then accumulating below them. So we have a sweep of that low right here, and then we break up above the highs right here. Okay, and then more sweeps and more breaks, right? As we came up and we retested this area of supply. So I think this now holds a support. So we have two kind of scenarios. Either we break up here on the daily, if we get up a break up above like 3-4 cents right here. Then we can look to long the retest with our invalidations below here, looking at target like 7 cents all the way up to 10 cents. However, if we get a deeper pullback on the Bitcoin and Ethereum, then looking at about like 2 cents, 0.25, where we can then look to long as well. Okay, so that's BERT. I think this is an easy play. No positions yet, either waiting for a drop below into here where we'll look for lower time frame accumulation, or on the daily, we break up above there and then get a trigger that way. So there's lots of opportunities in the market, but really looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Salana here, it's not the best spot to be over leveraged on alts. You know, I think if you're gonna play anything, play the majors on low lev. You've got those two scenarios. Either we break out and do something fucking crazy over the next couple of weeks, or we continue to cool off. Both scenarios really should be okay with you. If you position yourself properly, both scenarios should excite you, really. Either we break up from here and you're positioned accordingly and you still see some massive gains, or we have a little bit of a drop and you're able to just pick up everything with confidence over the next like month or two. So, all right, that's crypto, coffee, and LoFi. Again, special thanks to Bybit. Thank you everyone for watching. If you've learned something, which hopefully you did, I feel like there's been a lot of information given away in this video, then make sure just like, subscribe, leave a comment. You know, like I said, I don't really get any money from you guys. The amount of money I get from Bybit is kind of negligible. So I do this for the enjoyment, and it helps me kind of making sure that I'm not punting. If I can run through my analysis like this and then post it all on Twitter, it forces me to have a little bit more conviction and a little bit more patience with my ideas. So anyway, hope you enjoy that, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, bye-bye.